Okay, let's talk about some good news, some bad news. Sometimes we have to deliver some hard truths around here. We're about to do that right now. So we were all wrestling for the past 48 hours or so with that 1,500-page continuing resolution monstrosity through Congress. I hated it, you hated it, we were all mad about it. Okay. Elon Musk got involved. Vivek got involved. Donald Trump got involved. People started getting loud, getting public. The reps in Congress, the senators, they all heard you. They heard your anger. And then you had these powerful people, Elon Trump saying, this is bad, we can't do this is bad. And so by the time we all went to bed last night, the news of the day was the CR had been stopped. They were tabling it. There's all kinds of talk now. They're going to do a clean CR, maybe, maybe not. We might get a government shutdown. Okay, all right. So let's have a sober talk first before we get to what I really want to get to. It's not dead. All right. The bill itself is not dead. Now, as that one was written yesterday, it may be dead. You got too many bad headlines out of it. People were looking through, wait a minute, we're funding biolabs, vaccine mandates. So there was so much garbage in there. That exact bill may be dead. But don't think for a second these people are going to get 48 hours of your outrage or my outrage, and they're going to say, well, okay, I guess the corruption's over, guys. Let's just do it the right way now. Doesn't work that way at all. What Eric Burleson was going off on about the last bill, he's going to have to do this again on the next bill.
So what are your thoughts on this here? Have you seen the text at all?
It's a total dumpster fire. I think it's garbage. This is what Washington, D.C. has done. This is why I ran for Congress to try to stop this. And sadly, this is happening again. I think that it's shameful that people that celebrate DOGE coming in, and yet we're going to vote for another $1 billion to be added to the deficit. And so it's ironic.
What does this mean for Speaker Johnson's future?
Personally, I'm disappointed. I think that he can do better. He can communicate better. The fact that we haven't seen the language today and we're supposed to vote on it this week is unacceptable.
Now, that last part is what I want to talk about before we get back to the bill that will return. As we speak right now, they're in the back rooms figuring out how to make another ugly, corrupt sham of a bill more palatable for you and me. They don't want the peasants getting all uppity like we did yesterday. But let's talk about the they, you see. Pause on Congress for a moment. You see this? This is the Anticommunist Manifesto. I wrote this book along with my friend, co-author Nick Rizzuto. Now, don't worry, I'm not selling you my book right now, although it was a national bestseller, but let me just show you something really quickly. In my book, there's about, right before we get to the author's acknowledgments and all that, there's about 275, 277, depending on how you want to count it, pages of actual content. That's stuff in the book, right? 275, we'll just call it that. But then, if you flip to the back of the book, I'm going somewhere with this. If you flip to the back of the book, there are all these pages of citations. I don't know if you can read that. Citation after citation. They're even numbered, 161, 167. We got this one from this book. In all, there are 271 citations in this book. A citation. There's practically a citation per page of this book. Why? What is it? Well, if I put something in the book, if I cited something at all, fact, a little tidbit, I, as an author, I'm not an author, I wrote one book, but I, as an author, am required by my publisher, by everybody, to write down exactly where that little tidbit came from. If I say something like, 1 in every 4,000 lobsters is blue. I think that might be correct, by the way. But if I say something like that, and I put that in my book, I have to write down in my book where I got that information. And I have to be incredibly specific about that information. These citations are not just, I heard it from a guy. There's one. This is citation number 102. I have the man's name, Steve Wisnowski. I have all the information of where exactly this can be found. It even includes a link where you can click specifics. This is for a book. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm proud of this book. I like the book, but it's not important, is it? It's a book. Hopefully it was informative. Hopefully you laughed, but it's just a book. So back to Congress. 1,500 pages. And we screamed about it all day yesterday. You did as well. All the horrible things in there, the vaccine mandates, the congressional pay raises, the funding of brand new biolabs, more payment for government censorship, all the ugly things in the book. Let me ask you something. Who put those things in there? No, let me pause for a moment, because I know what you're probably doing right now. You're probably saying something like lobbyists or staffers. Okay. Well, that doesn't work for my book. When I have to make a citation, when I have to cite something that was put in the book, I have to be very, very, very specific. Names, locations, where you can find the information. You see, I've been doing media for about 6 years now. About 6 years ago, I left the real world and started doing this for a living. It's not even really a job. But in that time, I've gotten to know many, many, many people in the House of Representatives and the Senate. Senators, reps, their staffers. I know a lot of them now. They call me, they text me. You have any idea how many times I have asked these people who work in Congress, who writes the bills? Well, I've asked them a lot, and I have never, ever, not one time, been given a name. What I usually get almost every single time is, I don't know. They don't even know. And if I get anything beyond, I don't know. Now, these are from friends of mine, so they're not lying to me. If I get anything beyond, I don't know, you know what I get? Lobbyists, K Street. But back to my point. For an unimportant book, I have requirements to be specific about who said what, where. We're talking about bills that govern the most powerful country in the history of the world. We're talking about bills that take your money out of your wallet and hand your money that you worked hard for out to this person and that group and this thing and that thing. This is your money. A critically important bill that governs the United States of America, and to date, I have not talked to a single person who can tell me who put those things in there. And isn't that pretty important information? Wouldn't you agree? Because I would like to know who is responsible for putting vaccine mandates in the CR. I don't want to hear staffers. I don't want to hear lobbyists, K Street. No. Someone sat down, someone typed that up, someone came up with the idea and put it in the bill. I want his name. I want her name. I want to know who they work for. I want to know their background. I want to know everything about the people who are actually writing the laws that govern this country and spend our money. Who are these people? What are their names? Who put in the CR, who is responsible for putting in there more funding for the government censorship apparatus currently being sued for violations of the First Amendment? I don't want to hear staffers, lobbyists, K Street. That's not a name. Staffer is not a name unless the guy goes by one name like Prince used to do. What is his name? What is her name? Who are they? Where do they come from? Where do they receive a paycheck from? And nobody can answer this question to me, and nobody out there considers that to be a problem. And then when you combine that with the emotional blackmail you get from the people in Congress who try to convince you that it's absolutely critical we pass the bill unless you hate hurricane victims.
House Republicans have now unilaterally decided to break a bipartisan agreement that they made. House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt everyday Americans all across this country. House Republicans will now own any harm that is visited upon the American people that results from a government shutdown or worse.
He sounds super upset. It's going to hurt the American people. He doesn't even know what's in the bill. And he doesn't even know who wrote it. And it's not just Democrats either. Mike Johnson probably did it worse than Hakeem Jeffries. He stood up behind that microphone, has no idea what's in the bill. He probably can't name for himself a single person who authored anything in the bill, but we have to pass it for the farmers.
This was the conservative play call. We don't normally like what's called a continuing resolution, a CR, but in this case it makes sense because if we push it into the first quarter of next year, then we have a Republican-controlled Congress and President Donald J. Trump back in the White House will be able to have more say over the funding decisions for 2025.
No one knows. Don't you think it's a problem that we don't know the names? We have laws governing the country, and no one knows who writes them. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.